Hi, welcome back to another episode of The Search. I'm Elliot Manning, the Managing Director of Kayman Recruitment in the UK and US. And this week I've got Samir and Scott from Forsyth Barnes who are joining me to talk to me about their journey over the last, few years, the current, day, and what their kind of plans are moving forward. If you want to take it away, Samir and Scott, introduce yourselves.
So as Elliot's mentioned, I'm Samir. I head up our US division here at Forsyth Barnes, exec search consultancy. So we focus on retained work from a permanent perspective, and then the consultancy arm of the business focus on interim and short to mid-term solutions from a contracting perspective. Been with the business for 4 years this week, actually. I've just realised.
Wow.
The 11th.
Gone quick.
Cake's on the way for that.
So been in the business 4 years, joined as an associate con, and obviously now heading up the US team. So been a great and very challenging but fun journey so far. Looking forward to seeing how the next few years pan out as well.
No, we'll go through that. We've got Scott with you as well.
Hi guys, Scott Parsons, managing partner at Forsyth Barnes. I've only been with the business for half a year longer than Samir, because that's how long we've been going. So we started at the start of 2016, 4.5 years into our growth story. Things have gone remarkably well so far, and we're looking to build on that in the US at the minute, which is what Samir's heading up.
Amazing. Was that always a plan for the US to be the next sort of step? Because you've got a couple of offices now, in the UK. So was it always New York? Was it something else, or was it your plan, Samir, to always want to do that?
I wouldn't say it was my plan solely, but Scott and Rahil have both got very ambitious dreams and things that they want to achieve from a global perspective. So it was definitely on their mind as well. I think maybe I'd like to think that I'd push them to do it sooner than they maybe would have wanted to. But, it was something that I think I told you, Scott, the first time that you interviewed me, actually, that you asked about what my 5-year plan was. And I said about wanting to, go out and work in the US, in New York, whether that was, to set up something for you guys or whatever it might be. But that was the plan for me. So, so far, so good.
So has it been a case for the business where you've been operating over there from the UK? Is it something that you've kind of decided, how's that kind of panned out for you guys?
Yeah. Go on, Scott. Take it. So I was going to say we've been recruiting over in the US market virtually for almost a year now, and things have been going really well. We went out again. We've been out a few times over the course of the last year, meeting clients, meeting candidates, looking at offices. We'd identified the office in Feb time, and everything's kind of ready and we're set up over there. Just Samir and I are still over in the UK with everything going off with COVID.
Where did you choose over there? Which area?
We're on Broadway, so it's nice. Expensive. It's a WeWork, so we're in a WeWork in London as well, just on Broadway, so you can see from the window the Lion King. So great location. Just can't wait to get across.
Right, central in Midtown. Then I know it very well.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. Okay, you've been out there a few times, then, guys. Have you been sort of making the most of sort of getting to know the market out there? And
yeah, definitely. I think we've been separately from like personal holidays and things like that, but we've had, about 4 or 5 trips now, I think, where we've gone as a team, as an office. Once, I think 2 of those times were as a company like holiday incentive. One of them was for one night coming back from Miami as an added upgrade, which was it was pretty interesting trying to pick everything out that you want to do in New York in one night, and then having to wake up at I think we had to get up about 7 a.m. the next morning to drive up to see a client in Connecticut for a retainer pitch. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah. Did you get it?
It's still ongoing, to be honest. I had to put a few things on hold at the time last summer, and it's looking like they're now that things are looking a little bit more positive from a COVID perspective. They should be picking up. So.
So going into that, tell me something. So we'll come back to the COVID sort of situation, shortly. But the build up to now, obviously, Samir, we worked with you 4 years ago, and you've got to where you are now, which is amazing, mate. You've had such a big journey. What would you sort of say to others? How did you get there? What did you do? What's it taken?
I suppose a bit of a, not necessarily a backstory, but a bit of method behind my thought process going into Forsyth Barnes was I'd spent about 3 months at another recruitment company before joining FB, and learn, the kind of basics of recruitment there. So I went into Forsyth Barnes with an understanding of how it works and how a database works. Something as simple as that, if you haven't used one before, then it can be a little bit overwhelming at first. So I didn't do as well as I would have liked to in that last role. I was actually told by someone that recruitment probably isn't for me, and I should look at a few other different avenues. And I suppose that's one of the things that's actually driven me to want to succeed even more. I know it's quite a cliche thing. You hear it often about people telling you that you can't do well, but it does give you that inner drive and inner passion to actually want to overcome something like that. So joined FB, got along really well with both Scott and Rahil from the get-go. I think the main thing that, if I think back to what it was like back in that little office in King's Cross, I think the one main thing was taking everything that you're being told to do and actually applying it. It's probably the biggest thing. A lot of people, when they first join a company, maybe like to do things their own way or have their own opinion on things, which is great, and opinions are always welcomed. But I think if you want to be successful in something, you've got to look at people that have actually already succeeded in that industry, already kind of been there, done that, so to speak, and take what they've done and apply what they've done. And I think if you look at any of the successful consultants at FB, that's exactly what they've done. Taken on board the training that's been delivered to them, actually applied it into action. It's one thing listening to it and writing down all your notes, but actually taking that information and put it into day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month activity is what's going to really drive you to succeed.
Scott, from your side, bringing someone in like Samir to where he is now, this is like every sort of business owner's dream, is to have someone come in and work their way up to the top and take on that leadership role. What would you say from your side that you've seen or noticed that he's done or, achieved over this time to be where he is?
He's been amazing over this time, but we've been fortunate, and use fortunate loosely, I suppose, with the types of people that we brought in the early years, where we've always practiced the true meritocracy. So I think a lot of recruitment companies will say they're meritocratic. The one way we wanted to differentiate ourselves is to put targets in black and white in people's contracts. So you hit that target and you'll get that opportunity. Samir's been really clear and open throughout his whole journey with us that he wanted to progress into being a top biller. He wanted to progress into management. He then led a practice and then wanted to get out into the US as well. So every step along the way, we've given him another target to go and surpass. He's hit every single one, hands down, smashed it out the park. So we'll continue to keep giving him those targets. And that's the way we run the business in its entirety. So even moving out to New York and Samir, with him there'll be targets in place to get the next team members. There'll then be targets in place to open the next office beyond New York. And we can really look at conquering America. And we're very entrepreneurial in our approach with everything. So as part of opening it up, Samir will have part ownership in what he's looking to open there. And there'll be further targets in place to the more and more that he's hitting, the more and more ownership and piece of the pie he'll be taking.
Amazing. Okay, fine. And what would you say across, this journey are challenges that you faced? What would you, and how did you get over them? What would you say is stuck, in your mind of something that you may have struggled with or not along the way?
I think one of the things that I think is really important in any new role that you take is that first 6 to 12 months of appreciating and understanding the work that needs to go in for something to really take off and to succeed. And in saying that, there's often a kind of cliche around people saying, don't work hard, work smart. I think if you can combine the two, where you're working smart but you're working hard at the same time, that's where the fireworks really tend to go off. And we've seen a number of cases of that across the business. It's not like it's just work for one person. The people that come in and spend that first 12 months setting up their desk, building out their client base, building out their candidate pool, and really identifying the kind of businesses that they need to be focusing on and giving them the specific attention that they need, is where we've seen the kind of best people grow.
How big is the business now?
Oh, what? Sorry?
How big is the business now?
Just shy of 40 people.
40 across. You've got London, Nottingham.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, perfect.
So yeah, I think that's been the main thing that's really worked for most people in the business. I think another thing is one of the things that we've actually really focused on, especially over the past 2.5, 3 years or so, has been becoming specialists within a certain area.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to just go about your recruitment ways, and you see anything that's, oh, there's a job over there, I'm going to go after that. Whereas if you actually think about the likelihood of you filling that based on your knowledge of that industry, of that kind of role, usually what you'd like to think is if you're picking up a role with a client, as you're qualifying that role, you've already got 2 or 3 people in mind that come into your attention to think, right, I think this person could be right, I think this person could be right. And then you obviously leverage off of everyone that you're speaking to from an information gathering perspective and things like that. So as I say, it's working smart, but also being accepting of the fact that you're going to need to put in some added work, especially over that first 12 months to really see you off for a successful career.
What would you guys advise someone who's, last question on this subject, who's become a top biller in a business, and done incredibly well as yourself, to then transition over to a management role, to then transition over to a new continent entirely to set up another space for the business? What's go on?
I'd say the biggest thing for me is to listen and learn, as kind of Samir said. So, I put a lot of things into football analogies, but I suppose the best players, when you go from that step from being a player to a manager, there's things that you need to learn again. You don't want to be kind of the Roy Keane school of being an amazing player, but then not being the kind of best coach and best man manager as you transition into it. So it's putting into place everything that you did, whilst also understanding people, that everybody's different, and making those slight nuances and slight changes as well. And I think it's similar in terms of starting a new market, where there's a lot of things that have worked really well for us as a business, really well for Samir in the UK market, that you can take and can kind of replicate over in the US. Whereas there are slight cultural differences that you will have come across as well, where you've got to account for that, and you've got to kind of, I suppose, play to the US way of working, as well as kind of bringing in what's made you successful in the UK.
Okay, fine. So that brings me on to the next bit, the challenge of the last 3-4 months, having, let's just say about to make this big transition, how have you guys managed, and how have we got through it to where we are now?
I think from my side, we've used it as an opportunity, to be completely honest with you. We've developed our accounts well enough so that we've still got a few accounts that have been recruiting over this period, and that have been still ongoing with their usual recruitment ways, I suppose. We've developed a number of solutions for them as well. One of the biggest things that we've always pride ourselves on as well is always being innovative and thinking of new ways to differentiate ourselves from the competition. And we've worked on a number of solutions over that period that have really helped our clients, which has worked quite well. But coming back to what I was originally saying, we've used it as an opportunity. Where the market is naturally a lot more quiet, there's not much going on from a broader perspective. So we've actually used that chance to really build on the database that we already had for New York, do more from a reaching out perspective, so actually speaking to new companies, speaking to new candidates, and just building a bit of a name for ourselves out there, because we've been doing it for about a year or so now, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to really get a name out there. As you know, New York is huge, one of the biggest, most popular cities in the world. So from a business perspective, it's going to take a bit of time to really get a name out there. And that's what we're trying to do now, identify the businesses that are going to help us get to that level, and get to that kind of status. And it's something that's just working pretty well so far. And, so long as the next 3 months pan out how we hope and want them to pan out, then I'm confident that New York will be a huge area for FB for 2021.
Yeah. What about from your side, Scott?
Similar to Samir. So it's been a great opportunity. Like I say, we're relatively fortunate in that our contract book's really strong, which has kept us going profitably through this period, where I think most recruitment companies haven't been able to say that they've kind of kept profitable, whilst keeping everybody billing and keeping everybody focused. We've built our new website during this period, which is about to go live any day, which is really exciting for us. And we've built on our product offerings for our clients. So rather than the clients that have kind of put a hiring freeze in place, rather than say, okay, we'll speak to you in 3 months, we've worked with them to say, right, what does the post-COVID world look like? What solutions can we be helping you with as you come out of this?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are still looking to hire the same number of people over the course of a year. It's just going to be more concentrated towards the back end because they've put a freeze on Q2 that we're starting to see quite a lot of them lift now anyway.
Yeah.
So we're putting solutions in place with them of how they can deliver on that, of saying, right, if you're going to be looking for 4 of these senior execs or 4 of these types of people, let's build something in with psychometrics, with micro websites, with video advertising. We've even looked at programmatic for some of our clients to identify more diverse candidate pools. So some really innovative and pioneering solutions for the clients that we've been able to flesh out, I suppose, that we might not have been able to if this period hadn't happened.
Sure.
That are really kind of paying dividends now.
Amazing. Okay, fine. And that kind of brings me on to the next part, which we've kind of touched on, a few times in this, but the plans for the business moving forward. What's the outset? Where are you looking to potentially be over in the US? And that's very difficult to say. Do you have kind of like a plan around that? Hiring. What's the score?
Immediately,
yeah.
I think with everything that we do. So when we started FB, it's all about growth. We are so far from a lifestyle business. The last thing we want to be is a lifestyle business where the directors are just sat on the golf course, not kind of driving the agenda forward with everybody else. We've set some big ambitious growth plans as a company. We want to get to 100 people, of which we've set the FB 100 initiative by the end of 2021. So by 18 months, so it's a big thing that we're putting out there. That's something that we want to hit. As Samir said, US will be a huge part of that. So the minute that Mr. Trump allows us to go over there with visas and that type of thing, we will be out there and we'll be hiring both directly and through yourself, kind of as we can be in New York. To build Samir's team to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, fill up that WeWork office as quickly as we can, and then scale through that WeWork office until we can take on a larger premises there, just as we have in the other cities we've operated in. So, yesterday, to answer it quickly.
And from a growth perspective, Samir, what kind of people do you want to see in your team working for you in the US? What kind of background, caliber candidate, are you wanting to be with you on this journey?
I'd say the biggest traits are always for me from a kind of personality perspective rather than what they've actually done in the past. If people I think the very first thing, if you're working in any sales role, you work, especially in recruitment, at a relatively young age. Scott, don't raise an eyebrow at the word young there, but for me, it's always got to be, you need to be money motivated, right? You need to have plans, you need to have ambitions, you need to want to be successful, not just from a monetary perspective, but from a career perspective. Yeah. So I think if people are, have things that they want to buy, it could be just items that they want to buy, just small things, little things that you can look to work towards along that journey. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months is probably the first thing. I'd say secondly is people that, again, sounds a bit cliche, but want to be a part of something, joining a business at such an early phase, like I did. A live example of that is me joining when we were, 6 people back in Lighterman House in King's Cross. To now we're just shy of 40 people, setting up this new office in a new continent on the other side of the world, in one of the most popular cities in the world. You've got a genuine opportunity to achieve that same feat, and there's nothing stopping anyone who's coming in as an associate consultant now or in 3-6 months time, and getting to be heading up their own office across the US in 3-4 years time. That's the kind of ambition, that's the kind of drive that we want someone coming into the business to have in mind. People that want to get into management or people that want to get promoted in 4 or 5 years, we think like we will always push you to be achieving these kind of things sooner. And we've seen a number of cases of that, of people joining the business, and we've had promos within 2-3 months. We've had people get to management within a year and a half of being in a role. So we'll give you the tools and the platform to be able to do that. It's just about how much do the people that are actually joining the business really want it.
From a US perspective, do you have plans to be elsewhere other than New York City? Do you have ideas and goals to be located across the US? Or?
Yeah, I think you were talking about Texas earlier. That's another big area that I think we'd definitely be discussing. LA for me has always been probably somewhere I'd like to retire. I'd like to have the end of my career being spent there.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. I can't see New York being the only place that we're going to open up in the US. It's just about setting up that initial office, that initial presence. And then once that's done, I think the rest will fall through pretty quickly.
Scott, one question for you to sort of kind of nearly finish up here is when you see someone like Samir, who has been in the business for 4 years, taking every sort of responsibility to lead a new office in another country, what did you want to see? What did you see in him that, you know, people in his position need to sort of be aware of to be in that kind of role?
Similar to what Samir's touched on. So ambition, drive, competitive, intelligent, personable, could speak to the right type of people. As Samir correctly said, it was less about kind of what he'd done in the previous role. And he just said himself, he kind of didn't have the best time in that previous role, but also had something to prove on the back of it. But that's exactly the type of people we're looking for. People who are willing to go the extra mile to achieve something for themselves and for their families as well. So it's part of what Samir's just mentioned there in terms of the US opportunity, that we want to recruit somebody into the New York office that is going to do another Samir, that is going to kind of take that office, elevate Samir up another level so that he can go and open another office in Texas, Chicago, wherever it is on his route to retirement in LA. But somebody who can kind of come through the ranks and can be the FB New York director for kind of 2023, 2024.
Any preference on background of these people coming into the business that you want to see in the US?
Relatively open again. So we think a lot of the time recruitment is recruitment. So although we do more of the exec end of the market and our average fees are very strong, levels of candidate, levels of client that we place are very high, a lot of the time it is still the same recruitment practices that kind of they use at the mid-level, just with a few more kind of search things thrown in as well. So pretty open to good professional services recruiters that really want some to be a part of something and have the ambition to drive something forward.
Well, it's clear and obvious that, you know, for anyone listening, that if they do want to work with a business that, you know, is providing that growth and opportunity, it's proven, you know, with Samir being in this as well. So, no, look, guys, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you kind of want to share with anyone, or, you know, anything that you want to throw out there as a last sort of final note?
I'd say the main thing is, from my side, as a final thing, for someone who's maybe keeping an eye out on the market, not sure what to do, where to go, one of the most important things for me is the people that you're actually going to be working with. Luckily enough, you know, we're lucky to call a lot of people that work at this business, like friends and people that I've actually been working with for 4 or 5 years now, that you know, we plan stuff together on weekends. We will go out and see each other outside of work. So, you know, if you get a good feel from the people and you know, you're speaking to someone who's representing a business that's got ambition, then, you know, that's probably the two biggest things that I'd say to take into account.
Good.
Yeah, completely agree. Culture is absolutely key, and the people that we have in the management team at the minute and the consultants, we've got a great team that we've assembled, and we're looking to build on that. So.
Amazing. Guys, well, look, I really appreciate your time. I think I've got everything I need to know here. I've got a few notes written as well, which we'll be sharing out to the network at the same time. And if anyone wants anything, I'm sure Samir, Scott, they can reach out to you directly. I'll be sharing both of your links out to, you know, to LinkedIn and to everyone that's listening on any social media platform. Obviously, if they are looking for a job, to go to you or even come to me, and I'll introduce it over. That'll be quite nice for both of us. But no, look, guys, again, thank you so much, and look, congratulations as well on the move. And I don't need to wish you luck with the, you know, everything over there. I know it's going to work out incredibly well for you guys, and we'll hopefully speak very soon.
Brilliant.
That was great. Thanks, Elliot.
Guys.
See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.